Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I feel as though 2020 hasn't had all that many bright spots, and today is really one of them in terms of a good news announcement. As Josh just mentioned, my name is Zach Terwilliger, and I'm the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. I'm going to go a little bit slower today to make sure, one, I always talk too fast, but two, to make sure my colleague over here, I don't go too fast. I'm extremely grateful and humbled to be announcing that the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Virginia is establishing a new civil rights enforcement unit. This has been over 2.5 years in the making, and it's the fulfillment of one of the key aspects of our strategic goals. At the beginning, the Civil Rights Enforcement Unit, or CREW, will focus on enforcing the rights of persons with disabilities under the Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA. And we'll focus on the rights of service members and veterans under statutes like the Service Members Civil Relief Act and the Uniformed Services Employment and Reemployment Rights Act, otherwise known as USERRA. AUSA Steve Gordon, who's known to many of the people behind you who are advocates and community members, has worked for years with the people with disabilities community. He'll anchor our ADA side of the unit. AUSA Deirdre Brew, who's a lieutenant colonel retired from the U.S. Army and a member of the Veterans with Disability community herself, who is now a permanent member of our office, will be the primary one responsible for service members and veterans-related matters. Again, this new unit institutionalizes and expands the office's existing civil rights program. The unit also seeks to expand our work assisting veterans with disabilities to ensure that those who fought for our country are not discriminated against based upon a disability. The new unit will include 3 Assistant United States Attorneys who will be dedicated to enforcing disability and service members' rights and veterans' rights on a full-time basis. The unit will also include 2 contract investigators. Prior to this, we were not able to dedicate this level of resources to disability and service members' rights. To create the unit, we fought hard to obtain additional resources in this time where there is not many to be going around. Increasing the personnel dedicated to this work will allow us to grow the capacity of our thriving but overburdened ADA practice. I'm grateful to the Civil Rights Division at Maine Justice, to the Executive Office of U.S. Attorneys, and the Justice Management Division, especially Jolene Loria, in helping our office obtain the resources we need to make this unit a reality. The Civil Rights Division at Maine Justice has led the nation's fight for disability rights for decades and continues to be a critical partner to us here in the Eastern District. The establishment of this unit honors the 30th anniversary of the landmark Americans with Disabilities Act, which was signed into law by President George H.W. Bush in 1990. People with disabilities have long faced multiple barriers that excluded them from many aspects of community life. Through the ADA, Congress recognized, and I quote, "The nation's proper goals regarding individuals with disabilities are to assure equality of opportunity, full participation, independent living, and economic self-sufficiency. The ADA prohibits discrimination on the basis of disability. The ADA empowers the Department of Justice, including through its United States Attorney's offices, to investigate, litigate, and resolve complaints of disability-related discrimination, as well as to conduct compliance reviews of covered entities and provide technical assistance." After taking office as United States Attorney, I spent time with AUSA Steve Gordon, and we traveled to meet with some of the organizations who are represented here today. In our field visits, I discovered 2 things. First, this office has a nationally recognized ADA enforcement practice that's creatively found ways to make a significant impact with limited resources. And 2, the needs of the Eastern District's disability community far outpaced our office's resources. The CDC estimates that nearly 1 in 4 adults in Virginia have disabilities. These men and women continue to face innumerable barriers to their full inclusion in aspects of society. Some examples of these barriers include attitudinal barriers, communications barriers, and architectural barriers. Going forward, the unit will continue to combine case-based advocacy with community outreach. In this way, we will build on our past success. Let me give you some highlights of our enforcement practice. We will ensure that entities that provide services to individuals with multiple disabilities are complying with the ADA. So one of the things we're going to do today is make an announcement regarding a large case that Steve just settled. Today we are announcing for the first time that this office has reached a groundbreaking settlement with Good Neighbors Homes Incorporated, involving 2 matters with that entity. Good Neighbors Home, Inc. is the largest group home provider for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities in Virginia, with more than 50 group homes. For 939 days, Good Neighbor failed to furnish sign language interpreting services to a former resident who is deaf and also has intellectual and developmental disabilities and cerebral palsy. The settlement requires Good Neighbor to do the following: adopt practices and procedures that bring it into compliance with the ADA, to train its employees on steps they must take to comply with the ADA, and to pay significant compensatory damages and a civil penalty. I want to thank AUSA Steve Gordon, Steve, for his great work on this case. Our unit will also focus on ensuring equal access to health care, ensuring equal access to polling places, ensuring physical access to places of public accommodation, and ensuring that individuals with disabilities accompanied by service dogs have equal access. Moving to our work on behalf of service members and veterans, our program will include the following: protecting our service members from unlawful evictions and damage actions. Previously, our office, under Deirdre's leadership, obtained the largest ever settlement against a property management company for violating the Service Members Civil Relief Act. Pursuant to the settlement agreement, the property management company was required to do the following: pay up to $1.49 million in compensatory damages to affected service members, repair their credit, develop training and Service Member Civil Relief Act compliant policies and procedures, and pay a civil penalty to the United States. Next, we will also focus on protecting our veterans' employment and reemployment rights. The U.S. Attorney's Office has investigated several matters in which civilian employers have allegedly violated veterans' uniformed services employment and reemployment rights under the USERRA. We reserved one matter in favor of an Army Reserve soldier whose civilian employment was terminated after the soldier's absence due to active military service. On behalf of the soldier, our office recovered the soldier's lost income as well as liquidated damages. In addition to enforcement actions, this office will also continue to prioritize community outreach and training, which has amplified the impact of our work. To date, this office has held more than 60 community outreach and engagement events in support of our efforts, including an annual roundtable with stakeholders in the disability rights community. We are grateful for the partnership and support of those disability rights-focused organizations, some of which are here with us today. Let me just mention those: the ARC of Loudoun County, the Disability Resource Center of Rappahannock, the Northern Virginia Resource Center for Deaf and Hard of Hearing People, the Loudoun County Community Service Board, and the Virginia Association for the Deaf. With respect to our work under the Service Members and Veterans Initiative, we've conducted outreach to organizations that focus on supporting service members and veterans, and have conducted trainings for the Virginia Judiciary and Clerks of Court, the Virginia Creditors Bar, the Virginia State Bar, and the Military Services about the SCRA and USERRA. And some organizations that are joining us today from that group are and I forgot, I left one out earlier, advocacy partners, excuse me. Paralyzed Veterans of America are here with us, as well as the Coast Guard Chief of Legal Assistance. Thank you both. We are eager to continue to forge strong partnerships with each of the branch's chiefs of legal assistance and organizations like the Military Officers Association of America, Paralyzed Veterans of America, the Military Coalition, Disabled American Veterans, the American Legion, and the Wounded Warrior Project. Finally, establishing this unit holds great personal significance for me. At age 5, I was diagnosed with having dyslexia, a learning disability. Children with dyslexia are often highly intelligent. However, this learning disability affects your ability to read and write. I was extremely fortunate to receive appropriate services that gave me the opportunity to learn and excel despite my disability. Some of the services that made the biggest impact in my life were those skilled special education teachers that helped me understand, like so many of you as parents are going through and your children, that I wasn't stupid, that my errors weren't careless, and that I just needed to learn differently, but I could learn. Thanks to patient teachers, supportive parents, the work ethic that being a slow reader instills, and the legal protections of the ADA, people like me now have the chance to serve as U.S. Attorney. Further, although I've never served in our armed forces, I hold our men and women in uniform in the highest esteem and have committed myself to honoring their service throughout my tenure as U.S. Attorney. This unit will enhance the work that our office has been doing to protect their rights. The ADA ushered in a period of significant progress with increasing access and opportunity. 30 years after its passage, we still have much more to do. Through our new Civil Rights Enforcement Unit, however, the Eastern District of Virginia is redoubling our efforts when it comes to protecting people with disabilities, service members, and veterans. I want to thank AUSA Steve Gordon for laying this foundation, AUSA Deirdre Brew for her service in the military, and now her service to her sisters and brothers in arms, and to our Civil Chief, Lauren Wetzler, who's right behind me, who's been my steadfast partner in bringing this unit from aspiration to reality. Thank you very much. I'm happy to answer your questions. Claire. Great question. So for those of you who couldn't hear it, let me repeat it. The question was, will this unit just focus on the ADA and service members and veterans, or what about other civil rights violations? The answer is we're starting with these two and we'll expand from there. In terms of hate crimes violations or pattern and practice violations or things involving law enforcement, those are handled on our criminal side of the house. We have an expert in our office who we hired from the Civil Rights Division criminal side who handles a lot of those matters for us. So we have already been focused on issues related to use of force. That's not this particular unit because this is on our civil side, that's on our criminal side, but we're absolutely focused there. As someone told me the other day, the only thing, let me repeat that. Someone told me this the other day. A good cop hates a bad cop more than anybody else. And so while everybody knows I'm an extreme backer of law enforcement and that I'm a huge supporter of law enforcement, if you violate your oath and you engage in criminal conduct as a law enforcement officer, we will be the first ones to hold you accountable. Thanks, Claire. Yes, sir. Sure. We got to be careful because I got to confine myself to the four corners of the settlement agreement. But I tell you what, why don't you hear from the person who handled that case, and he'll be able to tell you what's public record. Steve?
Thank you, Zach. So, Good Neighbor is one of the largest group home providers in Virginia, and we've been looking at them for a while now. The settlement agreement, I believe, will be public very shortly, so you'll be able to learn more about the case through that. There's also, I believe, going to be a press release about the case, which will have additional information.
So we'll follow up with you to get you specifics on that. We just want to be careful anytime we're involved in litigation. We want to make sure we're giving you exactly what's public record. Other questions? Yeah, Matt.
This may be a little tangential, but you mentioned
Great question as usual, Matt. So to answer both questions, first regarding voting rights, yes, Steve has actually done cases involving access to polling places. So you heard me mention architectural barrier. I believe it was in Fauquier County, Steve. We had an issue where an individual couldn't, or individuals could not access a polling place due to architectural barriers, whether it was a lack of a ramp or some other accommodation that's required so that individuals with disabilities can enter the polling place to vote. To answer your second question regarding preparations for the election and district security officers, I think is what, or district election officers, I believe is what you're talking about. Yes. So many of you who watched what occurred across our country following the death of George Floyd, we saw a massive civil unrest. We also have had incidents around the country. I've seen 2 thus far of ballots being burned, allegedly burned via arson. We're also voting amidst the largest pandemic in modern history. So yes, we are prepared here at the Eastern District. As many of you know, elections, even when the federal individuals or U.S. Individuals are being elected, such as the president or senators or congressmen or congresswomen, those are largely states' issues. However, should the federal government need to be involved, need to be consulted, we've set up our largest group ever to be ready and stand by to offer support to our state and local law enforcement partners, our federal law enforcement partners, and state election officials. So we're on high alert going into next week. My prayers are for a peaceful few days and that everyone has the ability and access to get where they need to vote. Thanks, Matt. In preparation for the election next week, in terms of the assistant United States attorneys that we have designated to be on standby. And let me explain why. We have individuals who are from the Department of Justice's Public Integrity section who understand the voting laws inside and out. We have individuals who deal with incidents of national security. We have cybersecurity specialists should we have a cyber issue. We also have our team includes individuals who responded to incidents of arson during the last period of civil unrest. So we're being prepared. I think it would be unwise not to, but we're absolutely hoping for the best and looking to support our state, federal partners for whatever they need. Nothing I can comment on. Claire. Sure. So the question was, are you going to put information out about who they can contact? Yes, we can put that information out there. Some other U.S. attorneys have. Frankly, I haven't to date because a lot of your primary points of contact are going to be your state and local officials. But if the interest is there, we will push out who our points of contact are across the district, which, as many of you know, includes Norfolk, Newport News, Richmond, and Alexandria. Any other questions? Yes, sir. So I'm not. The question was, I'm not going to answer hypotheticals, and I can't talk about anything that's not public record. So I'm not confirming or denying. Sorry, I can't be more helpful. Any other questions? Well, look, let me leave it at this. Some of you may have realized I came across this last night as I was doing my nightly roundup of reading. Some of you may know the famous actor Jamie Foxx recently lost his sister. Deandra, and she passed away last Monday at age 36, and she had Down syndrome. And she was an ambassador for the Global Down Syndrome Foundation. This is what Jamie Foxx said about his sister, and I thought it really encapsulated those of us who work with the disability community. This is what he said. "One thing people may not understand is that the person with special needs, the love that they give you is unfiltered." And for those of you who have worked with the people with disability community, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So my condolences to the Fox family, but I just thought his quote as a family member who recently lost someone with Down syndrome was just right on the money. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for covering this news. And truly thank you to the 3 individuals standing behind me, Steve Gordon, Deirdre Brew, and Lauren Wetzler, and the individuals who are standing behind you. When I go back into my office, I'm going to have a multitude of things on my plate. The people standing behind you do this work day in and day out, and God bless you. Thank you very much.